Welcome back, everybody, to the third and final round of the fourth Disc Golf Pro Tour of the year. This time we are in Clearwater, Minnesota at Cale Leiviska's new property, The Preserve. This coverage and the tournament is sponsored by Prodigy Disc, so thank you guys so much for making this possible. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. I'm Paige Pierce.
I'm Missy Gannon.
And I shot a 19 under par. Missy is 11 under par. Katrina Allen 10 under par, and Paige Shue is 8 under par.
Yeah, we're all pretty tight there on the podium. Paige did end up taking a few strokes on us during the second round, but we're still trying to chase it down. There's a lot of birdies to be had, and anything could really happen. But we're all just out there trying to shoot our best. Hole 1 is a par 4, 615 feet. Not a whole lot of danger. There is OB all along the left side. There's a pond there, but the OB line actually stretches up towards the fairway. So you really just need to keep something really in the center of the fairway and get as much distance as you can to set yourself up for an easier approach to this basket, which is pretty guarded.
So I'm up first, and I'm going to be throwing my Zeus here. Just trying to get as much distance as possible. Really, I think the shot you need to worry about is your second shot. And it was a little bit windy this morning.
Yeah, definitely more wind than we were experiencing the first two rounds. I'm just doing the same, just trying to throw a big distance shot with my Thrasher and get as far up there as I can. A little bit of a low laser line, but I actually get a decent amount of distance to set myself up to approach the green.
Katrina Allen.
Kat now with her X3.
Yep, just riding that hyzer line on the right side and just fading right back into the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, she's been in a pretty similar spot all 3 rounds now. I think she'll have a good idea of what that upshot's all about. Paige now with her Air Ballista Pro. She throws this thing on almost every hole. Favorite driver. Unfortunate little air bounce downward towards the ground and takes a little bit of distance off. She's going to be up first with a driver still from here. This is another Ballista Pro.
Yep, just trying to spike it into the green. The play is to really, if you can, try to shoot straight into the gap, but you can get through that hyzer line. It just might have a chance to hit one of those trees. So I'm also taking my Missy Gannon Undertaker, trying to squeak through that hyzer line. I come up a little bit short and unfortunately roll pretty outside the circle, but I'll be a little bit more open.
Yeah, and that was an unfortunate tree bounce. I thought that shot was beautiful. Katrina now with that familiar PA1. Easy work of that, and that's where the benefit comes in of being a little farther up. You can throw a slower disc into the green and not get as much of action as Paige got. Saw she got a couple skips up there.
Yeah, and you're just throwing a nice straight putter shot with your Fierce.
It's actually left you with a decent look.
Yeah.
Those branches weren't quite in the way, but just not high enough.
Yeah, Paige went a little bit deep. She was just inside the circle. Gave it a good bid, but she'll have to settle for a par. Capitalizing early with a birdie on 1. It really feels like we should all be getting this birdie, and I don't know, I had trouble with it all 3 days. I'm not really sure why, but it's definitely a really cool starting hole and a good birdie to get.
Yeah, the green is so beautiful, and it is open, but that low ceiling coming in definitely gives it a little bit of a challenge. All the low-hanging branches around the basket, too, sometimes hinder putts.
Yeah, now we're on to hole 2, 284 feet, completely different hole, really tight tunnel. You have to miss a bunch of trees all the way along the fairway with an early Mando on the right, but really just want to throw something that's going to have a ton of glide, maybe like a fairway but also probably more like a mid-range or putter to just hold that glide all the way to the basket. Paige is going with her fierce, just a nice little flip up, riding straight, and that's really all you need to do. Easier said than done, but you made it look easy.
Yeah, I put a little bit more hyzer on than the first 2 days because I was finding myself a little bit long right. Katrina now with the PA1, she's also played this hole really well. A little bit more height, and it just kind of drops when it's losing speed. She's going to be about 15 feet left of the basket.
I was going with a mid-range the first couple of rounds, but not quite getting there, so I ended up going with a soul, which is sort of an interesting little in-between a mid and a putter. And I went out and practiced this hole right before this round and made the correction and got up there for a birdie look.
Great choice. I like the glide on it. It's an interesting disc.
For sure.
Paige now with a fairway driver. I believe this is a getaway, but not 100% positive. The fast speed kind of makes it turn, and being that narrow of a gap, it's pretty easy to find a tree. She leaves herself outside the circle.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There's that patented Paige shoe step putt.
Beautiful putt right into the center of the basket. Love the slow motion replay. All right, and another birdie from Katrina.
Yeah. She looked like she was pinched up against that tree a little bit, so she made good work of that. Finally got this hole. It feels good.
All right. Putting some extra work in on the hole and
Yeah.
paying off. So you and Katrina both move up to 12 under.
Yeah, and that was a star birdie, so good job, everyone. Hole 3 is 324 feet, par 3, pretty wide open. You do have OB on the left side, which is a cart path, and beyond. Doesn't really come into play unless you air one out and it hyzers down that hill, and really the danger is hyzering out too much and going down that hill, but at least you're left with an uphill putt.
Yeah, and I don't like the hill on the side. That's why I'm going putter here, just trying to flip it up just flat and just ride forward.
Yep, that was perfect.
We seen Katrina throw this M4 each round and has gotten onto the flat. She knows how to do it. She was asking for this one to sit, and it does right on the top, a little bit short of the basket, but she's looking at a birdie putt.
I'm lining up my Undertaker, trying to go a little bit more straight at it. I end up pulling it over a bit, and there was a slight crosswind, so I think it just carried a little bit farther to the right than I anticipated. So I'll find myself outside the circle, and hopefully I can navigate those branches and make a big putt.
Pretty close to pin high. Paige now with her Ballista Pro. Putting a good turn on it, looking for it to hyzer back. And man, if that was in the air for about a half a second longer, it would have got the skip off of that old ball golf green and been dramatically closer.
So I'm just trying to pop one up there, just a little bit soft. End up leaving myself like 20 feet, which isn't great, but should be okay.
Paige from outside the circle again. Doesn't step that one. Interesting. It looked almost the same distance as her last putt.
Yeah.
And after such a solid connection, I wonder why she did not go with the step there.
Yeah.
Katrina now 3 for 3. Great start from Kat.
Yeah, great putting so far.
And now this is me from about 15 feet to match Katrina. 3 for 3 so far for me as well.
Yep, and I make good on my par. just a little bit high and left. These baskets are great catchers, but really any basket, if you're a little bit too high and left, it's likely not going to stick.
All right, so leaderboard check-in. We just talked about we are both 3 for 3, Katrina Allen and myself. And you see a couple other people under par, but look at Rebecca Cox. She was in 11th. She's moved up 4 spots right now. She's 5 under through 7 holes. It's a great round from Rebecca. I was wondering when we would see that. Was surprised to see her down there so far. She had a great weekend last week.
Hole 4, 630 feet. It's a par 4. Really, there's OB all along the left side and the right side, but they're both pretty far. You just need to pump something way out here. We're dealing with a pretty stiff headwind, so you just need to really commit and throw something that you trust and get as far as you can, and then leave yourself with some sort of shorter but still technical upshot to navigate those trees to that elevated basket.
Yeah, and I'm actually, look at my shirt. I'm actually going with my most stable Zeus. It was that windy in this moment. It was a headwind, so although headwinds usually turn your disc over, when you get it too nose up, it just kind of stalls it out. So I'm going to be short left. Katrina now grabbing her D2.
Keeps it a little lower.
It on a hyzer,
Yeah.
too, a low hyzer.
Yeah. But she was able to cut through the wind quite a bit. She will be left as well, but nice angle.
And now you're grabbing your Zeus.
Yep.
You don't see you grab the Zeus too much out here at the preserve so far.
Yep, this is slightly lighter weight, and so it just has a little bit more fight than my overstable Thrasher, and I can just trust it on that Annie line to come back.
And Paige now deciding between her Ballista Pros. She has a couple of these she bags. She really likes them for distance. Speed 14 disc. But she throws it in the air plastic, so it's really light and glidey. That one, she doesn't quite get enough turn on. It hyzers out.
Yeah, challenging that left OB, but luckily she stayed in bounds.
She grabs it again and corrects, but almost too much. She's now turning it over, and she finds herself right behind one of the guardian trees just outside Circle 2.
Yeah, she was a ways back there. I'm grabbing my Missy Gannon Undertaker, just trying to cut through the wind, throw it super dead straight. I aim for that tree right there that I cut through, and actually ended up hitting the little lighthouse Disc Golf Pro Tour basket, and luckily sitting right there.
Beautiful approach.
Thank
and
you.
it was cool to hear the noise of it, because you can see the top of the basket, but you can't really see where your disc lands. Katrina now, I believe this is her A2. Great overstable, shorter range approach disc. She finds herself inside the circle, but looking at a tough putt, actually. And I wanted to throw my Fierce here, but slight bit of headwind made me choose my Banger, which flew beautifully straight.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Paige forced to kind of take a knee, step out, and just pitch her judge up there under the basket.
This is to go 4 for 4, big tester putt on our first elevated basket, and she just connects. She's
Beautiful
feeling it
putt.
today. Yeah. She's feeling it today, and I'm feeling it that she's feeling it.
I'm feeling it that she's feeling it.
You know, I'm trying to really hold on, to that second place at this point. You're 4 for 4 now, and, that first place spot is looking farther and farther away, and, I just want to have a really solid finish, and I feel her coming in hot. Hole 5, 910-foot par 5, our first par 5 of the round. This is just a really big shot off the tee. You don't want to turn over anything too much and land in those trees on the right. You really want to land dead center of the fairway, even maybe a little bit left, so that you have a straighter, less Annie second shot around this corner here. You want to land somewhere in here to have a nice, easy, straight approach to the basket. And then you have a hill behind the basket, so you kind of have a nice backstop. I think we'll see a nice variety of shots on this hole.
This is my Zeus here. And just entirely to nose up gonna get a little bit of a sailing over to the left into the tall grass. But it is left enough where I'm gonna be able to see all the way around the corner. Katrina with that roller again. She kind of turned it a little bit too much yesterday, and it looks like the same shot today. It actually looked like it hit a little pine cone and
Yeah, it did, and kind of flipped it.
tweaked the angle a little. The crowd loved it.
I'm going with my most overstable Thrasher, just trying to keep it out of the wind, cut through, and get as much distance as possible. This is pretty ideal for me, right almost left of the center fairway.
Paige putting one straight down the center and getting that nice overstable finish. She's not quite in the short grass, but she's close, which means she's in good position to see around the corner as well. And this is a great shot from Paige.
Yeah, you can kind of see the further left you are, the more of a straight shot it is. Whereas where Kat is, you know, she's forced to throw another roller, which she might have already been planning to do because she's so good at them. It just doesn't quite turn over enough.
Yeah, and that was her F7. And this is my Zeus again. I'm just trying to throw it as far as I can. I know the basket's out of reach and no real danger up there as far as OB goes, so you can really let loose on this second shot.
I'm going with a slightly more understable Thrasher, just trying to get around the corner, miss that main tree on the right side, and I was pretty happy with this shot.
Paige, another Air Ballista Pro on this one. A little low and turned over. She's going to find herself outside circle 2 in the sand trap. I thought that was an interesting choice on that one. I didn't think she was that far away to need that fast of a disc. Maybe made her throw it a little bit differently than she normally would.
Yeah.
Katrina now, that was kind of tricky footing with that sand trap. She's going to be a little bit short left and have a tester.
Yeah, and I was a little bit farther than I had been, and so I was in between a zone and my Paige Pierce Buzz. I was kind of trying to throw it in, you know, why not? But I go a little bit long and I'll find myself on the hill in the backside. Beautiful little straight approach shot with your Fierce right under the basket.
Paige with a beautiful step putt. Unfortunately, just not enough power on it.
Yeah,
She's got such a good aim on
Yeah.
the putting green.
That sand trap, you could tell she was kind of thinking about it a lot before she putted.
Oof. And Kat, just a tiny bit more rotation, and that might have went in. Oh,
First knee putt of in a while.
Yep.
So, you know, I'll settle for a par and move on. You will not. You will settle for a birdie.
yeah, and it's getting exciting at this point. I don't know. I won't spoil anything, but if you guys are paying attention to how the MPO division went this week, it was very exciting for us as hole 5 ran alongside hole 18, so we could see some of the action going down on the final hole of the week.
All right, hole 6, 297 feet. It is a par 3 over the water. We're carrying water for, about 200 feet of the flight. And you just want to throw something really committed right at the basket and try not to get any sort of turn or fade. This is one of those holes that can get in your head. It's not very long, but with that water carry, anything could happen. Paige lining up her fierce.
Yeah, like you said, no turn or fade, so that's exactly why I'm grabbing this putter. It's easy to kind of put it a little bit too nose up and get a drift towards the water. Katrina now with her M2. It's an overstable mid-range. She's going to want to put this one right at the basket and just kind of lets it go right at the basket and nose up and sails into the water. And actually on this hole, any water shot goes to a drop zone, so she will not be taking it up there where she touched the grass. She'll be taking it from farther back at the drop zone.
Yep, I'm lining up my Undertaker. I probably don't need to throw something this fast, but I really am just trying to gun it straight at the basket. I get a little bit too much turn. I will find myself inside the circle, but I will have some low branches to deal with.
And Paige going with her Lucid X Maverick. Similar disc to the Undertaker you just threw. But she doesn't get that turn and that right release that you did. She kind of sails it nose up and finds the water as well.
And this drop zone isn't the easiest either. You're kind of contending with those low branches.
Yeah, I thought it was a good choice from Katrina with that sidearm. Unfortunate little roll away from the basket, but she's still relatively close. Paige, on the other hand, goes with the Anheuser with her Judge and parks it into the mulch.
I have to throw my first straddle putt of the round. I usually feel pretty confident. Just sort of release it a little bit too high.
Katrina now from 18 feet. Connects on her bogey putt. First blemish of the round.
Yeah, I'll settle for a par. I definitely am looking to birdie this hole, but, gotta make my putts.
Yeah, and you make up one stroke to catch her again and stay at a tight race at 13 under par so far. Perfect time for a leaderboard check-in. Sarah Hokum's 3 under par from the chase card and moving up 2 spots so far. She's still 5 shots behind you and Katrina, though, but she has jumped Paige Shue for that 4th place spot, as has Kona Panis.
Hole 7, 240 feet, par 3. This is a really interesting hole because it's such a severe dog leg to the left, but it's also really uphill with a low ceiling. So you're kind of dealing with everything on this hole. You really have to commit to that inside line so you can hit that hill perfectly and get a big skip to the basket.
This one is my Ringer GT. I threw it yesterday as well, and I thought it was good. So I was trying to correct on it today, but still kind of the same result as yesterday. Just doesn't get that skip left.
I'm going faster. I'm going with a Raptor, super overstable, trying to hug that inside line, end up hugging that outside line, getting through everything, not really sure how that happened, and I'll find myself up the hill just outside circle 1.
Katrina now with another M2. Fortunately, Grady was walking with Paige and got in the water for both of Paige and Katrina's discs.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Oh, and from the tee, we could not see that reaction. We all clapped for Katrina, thought it was a beautifully thrown shot, but it just landed a little too fast and found that back gap. She's circle 2's edge almost deep.
Yeah.
Paige going with Air Ballista Pro again here. It's very fast disc for a 240-foot hole. Speed 14. It's going to hit a tree and send her way into the woods, but look at this out. That was beautiful.
Yeah. She was very guarded over there.
That's really tough to get out of those woods. That shot is very difficult.
I knew I had to run this one. It's really scary, just outside the circle. You can see my body English just trying to will that thing in there. Had I missed that, I would have been really far down the hill. So,
All right.
yeah.
Love that replay. Great putt on, like you said, just such a good timing. You had to run that one, and that's to reclaim the second place spot currently. But Katrina is lining up this birdie putt to match you.
Really far down the hill. That was going to take a lot of height to get there.
She gave it a good bid.
Yeah.
And Paige, awesome par save right there. Really can't speak enough how hard that second shot was. And this is, I think, the only hanging basket that I've seen on the Pro Tour ever.
Yeah, I think so. Hole 8, 1,000 feet exactly, our second par 5. Off the tee, you just want to throw a big bomb shot and try to land, hopefully on the left side, but really anything out in the middle of the fairway is going to do just fine for the second shot. It does kind of pinch. There is OB on the left side that you have to avoid, and then you can see those thick woods on the right side. So your second shot, you just want to land nice and safe in the middle, and it's honestly all about that third shot, in my opinion. Guarded green, it's still going to leave you with a lot of distance to get there, and so, yeah, that's kind of the difference between a birdie and a par on this hole. I just throw my Thrasher right out there, try to get a little bit of turn, a lot of distance, and end on the left side.
This is my Surge SS. The wind has calmed down, so I can trust this one. I'm just trying to rip it as far as I can. Yesterday, I found myself in the tall grass, so I was trying to avoid that, but didn't quite get enough turn on it and find the edge of it again today.
Basically, when you see this disc in Kat's hand, you know she's probably rolling it on a big open fairway like this. Riding that hillside, it is turning over a little bit, cutting to the left side, but, you know, she's still got way down there, and she'll be in good position for that second shot.
Paige with the Ballista Pro. Doesn't quite get the full S flight, but it still gets a decent ways up there, and she is hyzering towards the left.
Yeah, we're all in pretty good position.
Yeah, it's... The second shot's the big shot, I think. Paige,
Yeah, you can't, like, the OB shouldn't really be in your head, but it just because it's there and it pinches, it makes you think a little bit. That might have been why she threw it a little bit low, and you have to get over that little hump as well on the right side.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen OB flags up until this point in the round, so just the sight of those flags, I think, too, just gets in your head a little bit.
Yep. Not really sure what I'm smiling about, but
Just life.
I usually don't know what I'm
Life's
smiling about.
Katrina clubbing down to a fairway. She thought about the roller, but decided to play this one safe. She was farther back than she was yesterday, and lays a great shot up to the corner. This is my buzz here. Didn't quite get far enough up there to try to go for it, so I just throw a straight mid-range. Almost hit Alyssa. And if you guys want to see any photos from the tournament, check out avdiscgolf.com. Got a lot of sweet ones. Paige now. This is the angle she was looking for on this Ballista Pro. Full flight of it, and she gets up onto the green. A little bit outside of circle 2, though, so might not have enough range to get that putt in, but that was the angle she's looking for.
I actually thought I threw this great. This was my heat, a correction from the last few rounds. I wanted something that was going to be really glidey and slightly understable. Just sort of fades out a little early. It was just a little bit of a longer shot. But I'm outside circle 1, but inside circle 2 for a bid.
Kat going with her fairway again. She hits the initial gap, which is actually the hardest gap on on this hole, and it filters down a little bit left, so she's going to be underneath the basket inside circle 1.
And honestly, I think this is the shot that this shot requires as a forehand. You know, that gap is super small, and if you can pump a nice forehand up there, you're going to find yourself inside circle 1.
Paige was out of range. She lays one up inside the circle, but Missy, you can definitely hit this putt a little outside of circle 1, uphill.
Yeah, I was definitely trying to run this.
No.
Yeah.
Just half an inch too low.
Mm-hmm.
Love that angle.
And like I said, you found yourself inside circle 1 with that forehand approach shot, and you're converting on your birdies.
Yeah, and that was to card, I think that was to go 7 under through 8 holes.
Yep, I believe so.
Katrina also with a birdie. Jumps back up to tie with you after your stroke gain on the last hole.
Mm-hmm.
This is back and forth. I mean, what's going through your head at this point?
You know, I just know how many birdies are left, and I just need to capitalize and keep the birdies going and try not to let up. So hole 9, for example, 284 feet, par 3, definitely a gettable hole. There is OB long and a sand trap long. You just want to throw something super committed and try to get as close to the basket as possible.
This is my Crystal Fierce, flying so well for me today, but I just put way too much hyzer on it today, and on this hole, and I'm finding myself outside the circle left, looking at a death putt.
Yeah, we kind of had a cross right to left tailwind, and so you could see Kat playing that hyzer.
Wow, that was her M2, and it was looking like it was going to be under the basket, but it kind of hit that berm, the edge of the sand trap, and kind of slid into it. So she's going to be well underneath the basket, looking to put a nose-up putt in there.
Yep. And I'm asking for this to get down because I planned to hang it out a little bit wider and let the wind sort of carry it in. So it does push a little left, and I'll have a just inside the circle putt.
Yeah, and it kind of got a big roll towards the end as well. Paige now with her getaway. She is finding herself short left, and yeah, decides to lay up before I can even guess. So I'm definitely running this one. My putt's been feeling really good this round, so I wanted to give it a bid, but just not fully committed and miss low.
And I'm just inside the circle. Again, I know I have to run everything. Just a little bit low. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, my body language, I wasn't super comfortable for some reason.
And I kind of got a roll backwards, tester range. Glad to hit that par putt. Kat, closer than I thought, but severely uphill look. Good birdie connection, and she will jump up to 15 under.
Yep. Yep, Paige and I will just tap in our pars.
And there you have it, the front 9. Lots of strokes going back and forth between Missy and Katrina. This is very exciting. Putts are falling in, lots of birdies coming.
Yep.
Right now, she has you by 1 stroke, and you got 9 holes to play. I'm excited to see how the back 9 ends up. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell to be alerted when the back 9 drops. Thanks again to GK Pro and Prodigy Discs.